Renowned U.S. civil rights campaigner Reverend Jesse Jackson has condemned U.S. sanctions against Zimbabwe. Jackson was in Southern Africa on a private visit, during which he met President Robert Mugabe and Prime Minister Tsvangirai. Speaking to CCTV's Farai Mwakutuya, Jackson called for credible elections later in the year. He said that would open the door for Zimbabwe to re-engage with the rest of the world diplomatically and economically.
Africa, if you look at the resources we have, the human capital, is supposed to be the next big thing, the next big frontier. Do you think we're on course to living up to that billing?
You are. For too long you've had rich soil, very rich soil, and very poor people because of exploitation, whether it was colonialism, occupation, neocolonialism. But we won those battles now. I mean, Nkrumah down to Mandela, walls have come down, and that bridges are being built. You simply have growth economies in Africa, the most endowed continent on the whole earth.
Do you believe that what Africa needs is trade and not aid?
Well, you need a combination of both. All nations get both trade and aid. But what you do need is fair rules by which to play. The reason why we're concerned that we work diligently to end the sanctions against Zimbabwe, because the sanctions limit your growth. And when there's growth, everybody wins. America needs the market, and Zimbabwe needs the American market. We all have money, market, talent, and location, and there is no real justification for these sanctions remaining. I hope that after a free, fair, world-class election here in Zimbabwe, that all remaining reasonings that have been put forth will be removed. We, in fact, can have a free Zimbabwe, free to trade.
Zimbabwe, amongst other African countries, talk about interference by the West, trying to impose certain ideologies. I'll take a case in point of the elections, where our own government has said we're not accepting funding from the UN or from other countries because they want to come and observe our elections and set conditions that are not conducive or not what we want. What's your view on that?
Well, elections ought to be world-class. Elections ought to be transparent. There ought to be some global standard. We should all honor international law and human rights and self-determination and economic justice and fairness, and have elections free of violence. So let the winner win and loser lose. Democracy does not guarantee success, it guarantees opportunity. But you cannot have equal opportunity unless you have fairness. And I would think that fair elections should be the standard around the world. But once the rules for all nations of the world, not just select all nations. Fairness and transparency matters.
We are aware that even in America, there are still imbalances and inequalities between white and African Americans. In view of that, do you think that Africans can be taken seriously in trade and other spheres in America?
Well, what we must know is that freedom is not enough. We're free but unequal. And so to be free, you must also be equal and be global. So when you play the big soccer match, you're free to play, but unless you have the same set of rules and even playing field, you can't win. You need freedom, equality, and the ability to compete in the global sphere. And I'm convinced that there's nothing the world has to offer that Zimbabwe cannot master. What it is to fight for freedom. You are gallant freedom fighters. You fight for equality. Because after all, apartheid, skin color is one layer, but there's a land apartheid, and there is education apartheid. There's healthcare apartheid, there is construction apartheid, and there is at every layer there's banking apartheid, there's shipping and trading. So apartheid is not just skin deep, it is bone marrow deep. There are many layers to it. When you fight for land reform, you're making a step in the right direction for freedom and equality, which lends itself to a sense of fairness and justice. And that's what all of us should expect as people around the world.